It starts with Israel attacking Iran. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. The idea is that as the world looks upon this with horror, then they will demand from their governments that there are heavy controls over travel, over communication, over people who meet, over people who protest in the streets. And because people will be driven into fear by this, they'll request and demand and insist on heavy controls from their governments, which will be justified. And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all the Western countries.
Think quite carefully about the conscription. Think quite carefully about the conscription. Think quite carefully about the conscription.
Say no.
Think quite carefully about the conscription.
They simply say no. And that's what we all should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. do today. They say no. And that's what we should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. No.
If white male goes to war, women will be left, women will be left, women will be left.
And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all Western countries. And then, he said, then the real war starts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. Economic is what this is all about. I mean, it's Lloyds of London that have shut down the Straits. Not hoity-toiting. You look at Iran, they've not actually banned everybody from coming through. They've just banned Israel and America. It's Lloyds of London that have caused that. And I put 30 quid's worth of juice in the old tank today and got 14 litres. 14 litres! It's outrageous. Food's going up. But more importantly, you've got to take on board what's happening now and where this is going to play out come September. And we're talking about shortages here. Now, during the bug script, I was living on the main road. So it was the main road from the motorway into Accrington. It's where all the wagons came in. And the first thing we noted, whereas there used to be tons and tons of wagons coming through all night, it wasn't even half. It was a fifth. You might have got one or two wagons coming through at night loading up these supermarkets. So that game's already been done. They've already destroyed the distribution because, of course, all the lorries and firms are all Masonic. And the reason why they never put the freight onto the rail was because the Masonic needed to control distribution. So they've already, probably even less than that, destroyed distribution. And now we've got this. You really have to start paying attention to what's coming in relation to what's going to be shortage of. And then, of course, we've got this bug. I mean, A, you can't catch it. B, it's a side effect from everything that you've all had in the last 5 years. Even if you go to dentist today, there's shit in it. You haven't anything out of a needle today, and they've changed the whole game. So all this turkey teeth malarkey, this American obsession with the teeth that everybody is picking up. You might not have done the deed, but you've done a deed, and God knows what they've stuck in yet. I mean, it's just, they're pushing, and they are pushing like mad now. And this bug, you can see them preparing, but of course it's begun with students. Now there's the key. You know, they intend to kick this one off in the schools. Now, okay, all that aside, let's have a look at what actually took place in the bug script. They created this fear of this is happening, everybody's getting it. But what we all soon started to, well, I knew from the beginning, what people started to realise pretty quick was, if you got knocked over, your certificate was saying the bug. So the mechanic of that entire event wasn't so much any kind of terrifying bug, is they created a theme by which they could pick anybody and everybody up. And once you got in that Nina, and into the Temple of the Hospitallers, game over. This is exactly what they're doing again. And we did the democide. We went through that data, and I've made it clear. I fully accept that mechanic and ability is exactly what they cover, if they haven't already got it installed. And that would probably be the cause of a problem. And then, of course, the theme whisked off. Oh, it was just the M-bug is coming. But now we've got a shithouse in running this nation, Jimmy Savile's vagina, who's made it very clear. He's a brutish bastard. He loves it. Rinsed stupid by Jimmy Savile and God knows who else. The guy's a freak. He's rubbing his hands in readiness for this. As he said, we may have to lock down just in time for the licensing of the super saviour that was all licensed. Sorry, not licensed, but contracted to one of the big bunch of Johnny-come-lately companies in September. On the back of course, which we talked about, Exercise Pegasus. And you've got to remember, the entire domestic security system is peopled by the dumbest people you can imagine. They're just doing the job because they're stupid. They don't know no idea of what's right, what's wrong, what's moral, what isn't. And all these, God knows how many million imports from Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Turkey, Albania, all these Islamic nations. And of course everybody's, Sharia law. Yeah, well, yeah, but what is Sharia law? Well, it's not based in the Quran. I can tell you that now. Why? Well, because it's Talmudic. That this, when you see them all praying on street outside, it's nothing to do with the Quran. He's very clear. He's very clear in the book how prayers to be approached. And if you're just praying to be seen, to be praying, you kafir. But for political Islam, and to keep all the numpties there, the Tommy Robinson Brigade convinced it is, because they're doing it. You study the Quran, there is no house of peace in it. It is a house of war. Peace only is attained when everybody submits. But it's a front scapegoat game for the Noahide. It's the Noahide that's being implemented in the courts. Right now, it's in. It's in. Make no mistake about it. They have now shifted a gear. They've got the Fraud, Error and Recovery Act. That gives license to these debt collectors now unbelievable powers. Straight to your bank account. They're not telling you, bank, organise a payment, either one-off or monthly. Then they come to you. Because if you haven't noticed, these banks over the years and changing the terms and conditions have shifted everybody's account into the uppercase. Now, AI is convinced that the courts do not acknowledge the difference between uppercase and English grammar. The Chicago Manual of Style, again, it cites as being Chicago Manual of Style and nothing to do with UK. So that's where we're at. That is where we are at in relation to where the courts are right now. They have moved a gear and completely, we're getting to the point now where we've been shifted out. We're in Noahide. The Goyim have no rights, especially if you are a follower of the gospel. They term it Christianity, of course, which we know is not really a clear reference to the gospel. It's an external institution, which is in contradiction to the gospel itself, which is a teaching to make you trust yourself, move in this world based on what you feel, and move from within. If you're wrong, it'll show you. If you're on that path, as long as you're following your own internal clock, the image of the Father, which is in everybody, then right or wrong, that path will show you when you're wrong. You can only win. But if you're taking it from external, another institution, somebody else's idea, a scholar, an academic, you're fucked. And anybody that's tied to the gospel in accordance with the Noahide, you've nothing. You've no rights whatsoever. Muslims are being used as a scapegoat, but they can only be used as a scapegoat because they're happy to go along with it. So there's no innocence there. It's not an innocent move that's going on here. And I know enough Muslims to know that within Islam it's very well known that they are taking over. That's their intention. So enough of all this protectionism. Anything that needs protecting in a statute is up to no fucking good. And all this garbage that they talk about, Islamophobia, it's a protection because it's up to no good. Now, it's always been known, or at least bandied around in circles, that Charles is a Muslim. However, I would suggest that's the picture that's been painted to give these immigrants in the last 70 years the idea that actually they're doing something right and they've got control from the top. However, an interesting video went up on the Facebook the other day where the guy's going through it and just going like, well, hang on a minute. It does look as if, for all intents and purposes, listen to his speeches, that he is placating Islam above all others. But then he gets into the nitty-gritty of it. He was circumcised by a rabbi. Everything about Charles is rabbinic. And I, have made it clear. Rabbinical Judaism is not in any way tied to the Torah, save for the fact that it controlled it through the Second Temple. But in essence, operated the Talmud, which was born and birthed in Babylon. So that's how Babylon put itself as a power in the Levant at the time of the Second Temple. The man came along, destroyed it by telling everybody, you don't need this shit, seek the Father from within. And there we go. The original church in Rome was set up on that, because of course they carried out what it was he prophesied. They demolished it. And Marcion gave it a huge donation and then created the first canon based in it. Then we had their own guy in Constantine created another branch in Constantinople and called it the Church of Peter. Now, I also put one up this week where it goes through when they actually destroyed the bells in the churches and destroyed the clergy, the very people that understood how the bell system operated. Because right across Europe, what you might Christendom, it was bells everywhere. And of course, we know that the frequencies that they operated was solfeggio. A lot of the monk chants were based in the solfeggio frequencies. So when you entered these buildings, it was a healing process as opposed to worship. And this was only started to be destroyed after the First World War. This is when they really started to demolish it. And so what we believe to be Christianity is a very new gig. And we're talking from post-World War I. So this was being done through the 1920s. And I've said before, we really haven't got a clue what it was before. We only know what it has been since the Second World War, let's say. Specifically so, Vatican II. So we're all operating on a completely different game here to what we class as Christianity. So what it was that built civilization wasn't these institutions as they now are or present themselves. It was something else completely different. And of course, they obfuscate that with this idea of Russian Tartaria. It's utter nonsense. It's everything since 1917 that's come out of Russia is Bolshevism. But Bolshevism was funded by Wall Street via or on behalf of the city, which we've gone through many times. It was the seat of the East India Companies, the empire. So there's so much that just gives confusion, that we don't understand our ass from our elbow. And of course, they are now installing this low-grade slave shit system of obedience. And what I try and point out is that the political Islam that we see everywhere, that Robinson decries, even though he's a tosser anyway, isn't actually the Islamic method that the majority of Muslims in their own communities live by. But, and this is a big but, and it has to be understood, in the same way as the Talmud ran the tribes that moved with the Torah law, the law of the Torah, Mosaic law, then Islam is operating in the same way, and that is because the Arabic is a completely different translation than the very sanitized Quran that anybody would read post 1921. It had to be sanitized as they were starting to insert Islam into the West, or else it wouldn't have been accepted. And the biggest, I put something up before Christmas, I think it was, where a Muslim in America had asked this church if he could come in and express Islam as it were being seen wrong. And what he did was, without reading it, of course, because everybody's on this post-1921 sanitized version in the West, he thought he was being smart and wrote in the Arabic. Sat down, started to speak, reading it for the first time, and it said, kill all the unbelievers or non-believers. And he were horrified, because in the sanitized one, it says fight. But in the Arabic, which is the true version that ISIS and all this bunch are based on, like the rabbinical Jews are based in the Talmud, because this, the House of War is based in the Talmud, otherwise it wouldn't have any kudos. He was horrified himself at the fact that what he'd been reading all these years on the sanitized, he thought he was bringing in the original one, the Arabic, which it is, and it's not fight, it's kill. So they're in a mess themselves. But what I'm trying to point out in relation to how they're putting this Islam in as a scapegoat for the rabbinical Judaism no-hide is by forming a Sharia law that's not in sync with the Quran at all. And a big part of that I should put up on the Facebook today is the Quran doctrine on prayer. Because you see all these idiots on the street praying, the kafir. But Muslims don't know this because they don't fucking read the book. And that's on them. That's on them. You're only being used as a front because the aim of the game is to create war between the Zionists and the political Islamists. But of course, political Islam being political Islam, if the brethren of Islam don't understand that there's a difference, then they're submitting to that Sharia law that's not based in the Quran per se, but it's based on this aberration of it, like the Talmud is, over the laws and the Mosaic law. It's only a claim that it's the oral law of Moses. That's all it is. There's no evidence, ever. There's no evidence whatsoever that the Talmud was anything to do with Egypt and Moses. Nothing to do with it at all. It's just a claim. And it's the same. And if you're submitting to this Sharia that's been based in this shit show, you are kafir. And your book tells you that. And your book says you have to be killed. Well, these small hats running no hide are going to be more than happy to kill you. But not until you've done what they want you to do, which is make a mess in Christendom. first, do it for them. So you're being played like a violin on your own ignorance. The Western nations are so ridiculous at the moment, they don't even know whether they're male or female. So it's perfect timing, isn't it? The race that's being invaded don't know their ass from their elbow. They hold faith in an institution that hasn't been the institution that they hold faith in for at least 400 years, 500 years almost, 1603. Well, 400 years. Cemented in 1649. I mean, you just look at the state of this nation once the Hanoverians came in. It became an insane imperial force that used what was civilization as their mantra to enforce their commercial law and call it the laws of civilization. So on the back of. So how they used us as a scapegoat and a front, it's exactly the way they use in Islam. So I'm not sat here and saying to anybody, don't fear Islam. Islam's a peaceful, it's not. And it's not if you read the book. Now, I've read the book, I've read the hadith, and I've read the esotericism around it. The esotericism that I've read is it's like a copy and paste of the Talmudic Kabbalistic system. Copy and paste and stick Muhammad's name in it. It's so blatant, it's ridiculous. But very few people read that kind of stuff. But the hadith, remember, are a commentary on the Quran, which means it's somebody else's idea. Now, the Sharia is based in a lot of it from the hadiths. Now, that in and of itself is against the Quran, because the Quran is very clear. To understand that book, everything you need is in that book. Meaning, you cannot go outside the book to understand the book. Now, Muslims that I've spoken to in the past have misunderstood that, which is the problem with the doctrine. It's a misinterpretation. And they've said to me, well, it means that we haven't to study anything else. And that's not what it says. It's very clearly telling you, if you want to understand this book, everything you need is in that book. It's not saying if you want to understand the wider world that you're in, which is the big mistake that Muslims make. And this, I'm talking to about people that were in Muslim Council of Great Britain, and I'm going back 20, 25 years. When I'd read it, and I started to give my comprehension of it, because a lot of people got it, some didn't. But it's the comprehension of it that's missing. And I'll cite this as an example as to why that idea is garbage. It's because in the Quran itself, Muhammad is told, if he doesn't understand what he's downloading, is to go back to the scripture, which was the Bible, which meant to go speak to the Jews, to go speak to the Christians, to understand the basic structure of what it was he was being given. But he didn't do that. He went off on his own jollies. And Aisha said that very same. And then, of course, you've got this, most Muslims think he died peacefully. Well, he didn't. There's a piece in the Quran where Allah makes it clear that if he's lying, Muhammad, he will cut off his aorta. And that's exactly how Muhammad died. It's blamed on a Jewish woman, of course. It would be, who poisoned him. And he was said to Aisha, I feel like my aorta is being squeezed. And then he died. It's in the book. Now, why people that read the book, why they're not seeing this stuff and connecting the dots, I don't understand. You know, I'm not a Muslim, and I haven't spent my life reading these verses. But when I read something, I comprehend it. Same with the covering of the hair. When I read that, it's very clear to me that he's speaking about the pubic hair. It's not direct that he says it, but the essence of what's being discussed is about a female's pubic hair. It must be covered, not the fucking head of hair. So it is comprehension that's the problem with these doctrines, because all the doctrine is double-edged. And it's double-edged because you will understand it based on your own capacity. And in most cases, when people study something, they're studying it in accordance with the edit that they were given as children, or the edit that's being given to them by an imam. So they're always looking outside of the self for interpretation. Now, when I read it the last time, I could see that the stream to the gospel is in it. And it cites Mary, mother of Jesus, way more, well, not Jesus, but Yeshua. More than that, she's the only female apart from, I think Aisha's mentioned it, or not Aisha. There's one female, but it's Mary that's in it all the time. Yeshua's in it all the time. You can see that the book itself is trying to point a Muslim to the gospel. That's what it's doing, but it's very slight. And I did, at the end of the last study of it, which is a long time ago for me. Obviously, I made notes, and I've been coming back to them in this last year or so. I did think to myself, my God, I can only just see it. I can't see any Muslims getting this. Because it's so faint. It's such a very faint sort of chord within it. But it's pointing you to the gospel. Or, come this way, is what it's twofold. There's the thing, the real. There's its connection to the biblical tradition. But you go this way, if you want. Because obviously, that's the path for slavery. Everything that's nasty, dark, in man. Follow that path. You've got a God that says you can. No different to the Talmud. And this is the problem. And so, as a non-Muslim, non-Jewish guy, I'm not an apologist for any of it. But as a man, I'm saying you're all men out there, male or female. It's up to you what you do and what you think. You can either follow the shit show because you think you're going to gain something. Well, and in that case, know what you are and stop kidding yourself. And then be it if that's what you want to be. But don't kid yourself by any means that in following the ideology of war, slavery, enforced taxation, and murder, that you're in tune with the Mosaic law, but more importantly, you're in opposition to the gospel. And remember this, that the Old Testament, the Torah, if you look at it from an higher perspective, what that is a narrative by different people as they look to whether they want to be the wicked man or the righteous man. What's the difference between the wicked man and the righteous man? That's the Old Testament. It's a lot of narratives talking about this, that, don't do this, that, blah, 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 this happens. And that was solidified at the end when it came, the law said, and forget that, this is it. This is the way it is. You're either that or you're that. And there was the gospel. And again, it's double-edged. You can see there is contradiction put in it. Deliberate. But if you're studying something like that, when you're running through a narrative and all of a sudden this one piece comes in that contradicts the whole narrative you've just been studying, remove that contradictory phrase. Then it runs seamless. Now you see, this is the kicker. If you're not following your own internal clock, your own internal knowing, then when you hit these contradictions, you're lost. Because you could see the contradiction, and if you just trusted that were a contradiction from your own take, but no, it's got, what does this mean? Can you tell me? All right, okay. Can you see? It's the difference between external and internal. And this is why it's double-edged. All the doctrines are double-edged. Because it's all based on your capacity as to what you comprehend and which path you'll choose. And here we are today. The universe it's mirroring everybody. To go, you could cry all day, but this is where you have chosen to be. It's what you've chosen to follow. There's no point crying about it. You chose it. This is what you've chosen. Face it. Face it and man up. And stop running around believing, pretending it's all fine and dandy. It's not. But remember this, ladies and gentlemen. What's being shoved in on Sharia is only a forerunner for the no-hide. They are two sides of the same coin. But the Muslims are being scapegoated because it's essential that they get this war going. And this is where Freemasonry's come in. Freemasonry absolutely is a 100% rabbinical Judaism system. And that's what's infiltrated and undermined Christendom. Now, not maybe from the get-go. And again, we've gone through this before. York Rite, you had to be Christian. It's the Scottish Rite where they'll have anybody. We've gone through the fact that it's the Scottish Solomon system that's took over England a long, long time ago when they got the Tudors on the throne. The Wars of the Roses were all about the battle. That ended. Henry Tudor got on. But behind all that, it's the families behind. It's the banking families that pretty much got everything under its wing because they were the only people lending it to kings and monarchs. So it's been a long game. We can't already all turn around and go, well, it's only just happened. It's only just happened because you've only just recognised that there's something not correct. But people are holding hope in this monarch. He's not even the monarch of England. And people are running around, oh, we want our culture back. You don't even know what your culture is. Your culture is law. But law that gives you the freedoms and keeps the king and government in check. That's what's being lost. This is why this monarch didn't oath to England, he oathed to Scottish church. And now the English church has oathed to him, his title, which we can see is importing Islam. I mean, it's just a front. He's a puppet. He's a nobody. His mother were a nobody. She were a puppet. It's been going on for a long time. Churchill wasn't the hero everybody believes he was. You know, Churchill batted for the elites. And the chosen system for the elites that they operate by is the Talmud. Now, they can call themselves what they want. And they will call themselves whatever they want. They'll call themselves Christians, they'll call themselves Muslims, they'll call themselves Jews, Buddhists. Dalai Lama, prime example. He's been going to Kazakhstan. He's been snogging the wall. And, you know, there's the man said to be the highest attained Buddhist principles, which is conquer fear. And when you understand how you conquer fear, it's by conquering your attachment to things down here. Well, I remember watching him fucking shit himself fleeing Tibet, crying his eyeballs out. He hasn't reached enlightenment. He's a fraud. So they're in everything. And they'll call themselves whatever they need to call themselves to keep people projected externally for their spiritual succor. That's why we're in this mess. Iran, it's not a nation. It's a nation under occupation. The shit show that we're watching is one political system against another political system, but they're the same. Everybody thinks that Iran is the one that's blocked the Straits of Hormuz. No, Lloyd's of London prevented all shipping going through it because they're the insurers of it. They're putting insurance up now like you wouldn't believe. Prices are going to go through the roof. Shortages are going to go on. So we are looking like the Third World War could actually have, the Quiet War. Because it's after that, if you go with the protocols, that they're going to form this enormous social catastrophe globally. And remember, it starts in the West. But then it spreads everywhere else. There is no nation, no landmass, save for the place that these self-professed chosen are going to be, that's going to escape this nonsense. So it's in nobody's interest to carry on playing into the game, regardless of what you think's coming to you down the line. It might come for a bit, but it'll be taken away as quickly as it's given. once you've served your purpose. You know, it's ridiculous that people... We've had so many things that have taken place since 9/11. And if you're smarter than that, First World War. I mean, they slaughtered our men. Slaughtered them. And still people will run off to conscription. That's what all this is about, this. It's about martial law and conscription. And who do they want to conscript? The white male. And the native blacks. It's not going to be Johnny Muslim. It's certainly going to be rabbinical Jews. They've always got everybody else to fight their wars for them because they've got the lolly, the shekels. Well, I've said it before. If they conscript the white male out of the West, then the West is through because the only other males left for all the females, that's your wife, your grandma, your mother, your daughters, your granddaughters. You need to start looking at this system properly, this game correctly. But with this, what they're playing at now, Freddie, for me, I mean, is a clear and present danger now in these schools. They've got your kids locked in. They've got all the lighting rigged up now to create certain frequencies in the classroom. They have classrooms without windows, so they're like mausoleums. And this stuff has an effect on children, on the mental state. They've fenced them all off. You can't just walk in a school like you used to be able to as a mother and father, because you're not a mother and father anymore, you're a parent. We're heading into some serious times. However, there's no need to fear this. Look, you have rights. And look, your offspring are yours. And there's a clear and present danger right now, from this moment, in sending your offspring to these institutions that are private-public partnerships. The reason why they fine you for unauthorised absence, as they say, is because they only get paid now per bum on seat. So if your offspring's not there, they're not getting paid for that day, for that offspring. That's why they get excited. So they make you pay for it. But that's, you know, picking everybody off one at a time is easy for this system. But if everybody en masse goes, well, hang on a minute. There's a danger in these schools. Safety, duty of care, etc. Then you watch them talk out their ass. Because they go on about duty of care all over the fucking shop. Well, if that were real, they'd all be shouting from the rooftops, it's not safe to allow your offspring to come into these schools, while potentially there's another fantasy in the mix. I mean, they're not going to say it's another fantasy, but if they were real, let's say, and they had a duty of care and they could, which they don't, is power, authority, let's say authority more than power, then they'd be saying, everybody, on every... do not send your offspring to these schools because they're all mixing up, they're all going to catch whatever. They're not saying that, are they? No, they're going to say, you must send them there, otherwise we'll fine you. Does that not tell you what's really going on? And it doesn't matter what colour you are, what religion you serve. They're saying it to all of you. We want your offspring in here because we're making lolly. And we don't know what the higher echelons are doing, but whatever it is you want to do, it's you coming in, sending your offspring in is more important to us because we want the shekels. That's why they've employed all these fruit bats. Now, again, don't know what's right from wrong. You've got to start to see it like this. You've got the power. But you've just got to have the balls to use it and say, there's clear and present danger there. You're not coming. If you want to find me, then you're breaching my right to protect my offspring and putting them in danger. If they start throwing that at you, when on the one side they're screaming about this potential bug shit, If they're screaming this from that orifice and then telling you must do this, clearly against protection of what it is they're claiming to be protecting you from, then surely there's no court on the fucking planet that's not going to see that contradiction. But this is the key. It's about everybody seeing it like this and just going, no, thank you. Take the toys away for a while, that's fine. Because that's exactly what they'll do. What's more important? You've never seen your offspring again because they've been whisked away, put into these temple of the Hospitallers, done away with, and then it said, stamped, M-bug. You sucked it up last time. Are you going to suck it up again? So you've got that going on. You've got this shit show they call a war, which is ridiculous, to be quite honest. I mean, who's setting off all these missiles and drones? It's not fucking Iran. I'll tell you that now. No, it's a caliphate. It's the occupation force that runs it, that is controlled by the same people that control Israel, America, etc. Of course, Jimmy Savile's vagina is shitting himself here because, of course, it depends on the Muslim vote because they only vote Labour for the free money because the mosque demands it because that's just a bank and it extorts its community. Yeah, they have to put money into this bank. They don't get to see any of it. The Rajas, that royal tribe that seems to be above and beyond all Muslim communities, they're the ones that expand the capital of the bank and get it interest free. And of course they think that's a much better bank. Well, no, you're missing out that extortion bit, chaps. Yeah, that's worse than any shekel bank. At least we put it in of our own volition. You guys have to put it extorted. Extorted. And I know to what degree you're extorted. And if they don't put it in, they're ostracised. A bit like it used to be here back in the 70s as it were falling apart. You know, oh, curtain wiggling. Oh, he doesn't put money in the basket. Same thing. This is what these religions do. So that's what's going on. So I'm not an apologist. I'm not going to apologise for anything that I know isn't playing right. And Islam isn't. But if you're a man and not a slave, this is your time. Whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, or a follower of the Torah. Because the followers of the Torah have to accept that the Talmud's a load of shit, and the fact that they accepted it because it made them look bigger and better, they've given it power. Same with Muslims, you have to accept. You accepted that side of the Talmud that makes you look bigger, better, better than a slave. You can enslave people. You gave it power. Protestants, you gave it in fucking all its power and money. Zionism. And you're on your fucking head because Pope Pius X said, no, fuck off, we're not blessing you. Take over of the Levant. So they had to go to the Protestants. So the Protestants have financed Zionism, so you've financed one side. And you've financed it again with the tax that we've all paid that's been given in benefits to these immigrants. You know, war with Iraq after 9/11. Before 9/11, who voted in Tony Blair? Muslims, block vote, free money. So whatever went on under Tony Blair's premiership, you made it happen. You made it happen. And Stormer today's popping his pants because he knows, even though they're using the bases, they were using our bases before it even started. There were piles of hardware coming over here from the US. He's a liar. Charles is a liar. The chameleons, they're pretending to get you excited because as long as you do it, they can fall back at end and say, well, I'm not a Muslim. I didn't tell you to do it. You just thought you were telling you to do it. You believed they were telling you to do it. It always comes back to you, what you do, what you don't do, what you believe, what you don't believe. It's always better to know. And the only way you'll do that is to follow your own path. So that's my take on exactly what's going on today. Islam is a scapegoat so that you don't see the no hide. But what's actually going on in these courts right now is no hide. Because in Islam, the Sharia doesn't treat non-Muslims in the same way that the rabbinical Jews do. Which is why I know it's no hide. And Islam in its Sharia is just masking that. But Muslims believe that it is them that's being put in. You know, you're being used in a big fucking way. And it's quite sad, really. So I'm fed up with this apologist stuff because it's people that have never read it. It's people that don't know Muslims, because there's two sides to Muslims. There's them that are just, yeah, man, it's great, blah, blah, blah. And them that know exactly what they're doing. And it's been like that for a long time. In fact, the first time I heard that come from a Muslim was in the 70s as a young kid. And we were doing grants, so we knew a lot of these Muslims that were coming over. In Blackburn, this was. And they were all lovely, happy to be here, etc., etc. And, you know, they were really genuine people. But then there was just one time I was sat there with a group, we were having a brew after we were building an extension. And this one guy I'd never seen before came in and just ate up blue. He just looked at me and he said, yeah, we're going to take your fucking country over and we're going to breed you out. And I was like, I mean, I was only the Arabic. And that was my first impression that actually there's another side to this that's being shoved in here. And I've heard it many times since. Personally, but I've also, now with internet, you can see it being preached by the politicised Islam, which basically is coming out of the Muslim Brotherhood. And there's where you get Palestine again. So it all makes sense. It all connects. And hopefully in these live streams over the last couple of years, I've helped people just to connect those dots. And if it's interested you, you can just seek out a little bit of knowledge for yourself. So that would be my take on where we are and why we shouldn't play the game, especially in relation to this M-bug that's about to launch itself across the nations. I mean, I really hope nobody's going to go with this time, you know. I mean, the way that they'll really do it is because there'll be no petrol. And so they can force it in that sense this time. But don't let it start you getting out on the street. We'll get on your bikes, buy a bike, get walking, just anything to say a big fuck you to these so-called self-obsessed security forces that are nothing to do with constabularies, nothing to do with de jure government, whether that's council level or indeed Childcare Westminster. They're all fake. They're all too stupid to understand the difference. But you don't have to be. You do not have to be, and follow the lead. So that would be the end of the Sunday sermon. And what I will do is I'll cite, just for people who might go, there is the Quranic doctrine on prayer, which you see them, don't you, on the streets, all bowing down, kissing the tarmac. It's garbage. It's not of the Quran. So, in it says, prayer is an intimate devotional act for God alone. It's the same in the Bible. You pray alone, quietly, not mass thing, which is why I know Christianity and the churches before World War I were not as we've known them since that time. We don't know any different. Prayer is not a political rally, nor a public demonstration. Well, what else are they fucking doing when they do that in the road? Organised public spectacles of Muslim prayers are backfiring and they should cease. That's obviously not from the Quran. That's a piece said. So woe then unto those who pray, this is Quran, whose hearts from their prayer are remote. Those who want only to be seen and praised, while they forbid assistance to their fellow man. Okay, so there you go. It's garbage. It's a shit show and it's politicised. And if you're following it, well, you know what your book says. You're kafir and you have to be killed. Well, the no-hides will be more than happy to do it. And when you go, oh, don't leave me alone, they'll go, well, hang on a minute, chap. You've read your book, you claim to be it, and it tells you in there if you're pretending, you're kafir. You have to be killed. What are we supposed to do? Do we obey your book? This is how cute these small hats are, these PCIs, everything's set in a way whereby they can just go, well, you follow it, what do you expect? We're just following your book, we're doing what you said. But of course, in the gospel, there is no killing, murdering, invasions, or any such like. Is it? No, but once it's Zionized and called Judeo-Christian shit, which is a complete oxymoron, all fits into place, doesn't it? So, I said it with the end of the sermon. That is the end of the sermon. I think we've more than enough. Now, that's interesting. 31st December 2006, we paid our final payment of $83 million, officially settling the last of the World War II loans from the United States. Did you know that? Well, we did. Oh, no, we're not going there. We're not doing that. This is just another sort of game on the coups. 54, Guatemalan coup. CIA-supported forces overthrowing President Jacob Arbenz. After the coup, Guatemala experienced decades of civil war, estimated deaths 200,000 plus. So these coups that took on, so Guatemala 54, we've got the same going on in Iran. In 53, Iranian coup d'etat, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalised Iran's oil industry. The US and Britain supported a coup restoring the monarchy under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Pahlavisini. That's Pahlavisini, ladies and gentlemen. They are probably one of the mightiest fronts for the Medici, I would suggest. And just look at the deaths. American Revolutionary War, 25 to 70,000. War of 1812, 20 to 35. Mexican-American, 25 to 50. American Civil War, 620,000 to 750,000. Spanish-American War, 20,000. World War I, 16 to 20 million. World War II, 70 to 85 million. You can see it's a racket. War is just a racket. And of course, the drone that hit Cyprus, it really doesn't look like it came anywhere near from outside of Iran. But they're trying their best to get Blighty on board. Why would we want to attack? Why would we, in Blighty, want to attack Iranians? Yeah. Separate Iran from the occupation, the Muslim occupation, and you're seeing things right. Separate the Jews in Israel from the Israeli regime, and you're seeing it right. Separate the people of America from the regime that runs it. Same here, because it started here first, civil war here. And you're seeing one regime pitting nations against each other. And so there you've got guys selling drugs to Iran and then telling you today they shouldn't have any. And that's Oliver North, if you remember back in Reagan times. I mean, the country, they just think you forget this stuff. I've heard that the remnants of Epstein's team have devised a conspiracy to create an incident similar to 9/11. Now, this is where you get into the building that's just been bought by Silverstein. They've just done the same thing again with a huge insurance policy on it, specifically for terrorism. US Bank, this is the thing. Same gig going on again. I can't even read that myself. It's not bloody... So it's the same. It looks like they're getting something set up again in readiness for another false flag in order to just get them white males to conscript. And the blacks, because the blacks are happy to join up as well. Now, immigration law 71, section 24, it's a criminal offence to enter the UK illegally or overstay. Section 12, it's a criminal offence to assist or house someone here illegally, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Illegal entrants can be detained and removed, but not when your police force and your government are no longer operating under their own law. They're doing what the fuck they want. The UK Liberal government under Keir Starmer announces a new official definition as Islamophobia. Well, if it needs protecting by statute, that's because it's up to no fucking good. But let's separate political Islam and your average Muslim on the ground. But of course, they're going to be dragged into it because they don't know any different. And that's the sad thing about it. In a manual to shift, the House of Lords has voted to scrap the controversial non-crime hate incident system. So that's a good thing. But then they're trying to get rid of House of Lords again, are they not? How many times have they abolished data? Loads. It's quite ridiculous. Putting Commons as the prime authority. It's just a shit show like you've never believed. Now, we're going to go through. We've gone through common law, legal fiction. And now today we're going to go through what it actually is. You see, we've got to get out of this idea now that we could do it the old way. Okay, man, under God, blah, blah, blah. They're not playing in that game anymore. And we need to come up to scratch right now. We need to just... So we need to get out of the moan and the crying, because that's not going to solve our problem. We need to focus to what is, where it's at, and what we need to do. Okay? Because we're just, if we're going to try and hang on to what doesn't work, you know what the old adage is. If you try to fix something using the same process, you're demented. We have to stop on the old and get right into where it's at right now. And they still haven't got rid of the trial by the jury trials yet, so they haven't got what they wanted yet. So we'll have a look who's in, and then we're going to get cracked on with registration. Is the door that becomes the anchor to your flesh and blood. Okay, basically. So that's what we're going to look at. So who's joined us tonight? We've got John says hello, evening John. June says evening June. Paul says evening Sean and Philip. It's evening Paul. PY Music says good evening Paul. Upward says evening Sean. Hope you have all had a great week. Evening to you, Upward. John says good vid. The Tackle Bear Tutor says good evening Sean. Evening to you. Franz Booton says happy Sunday Sean. Happy Sunday to you. Northern Thrifter says control. Absolutely. Johnny Bloody Foreigner. Yeah. But they're not foreigners to the Empire. They are part of the Empire. Remember that. John says, is all these Deliveroo men and well, exactly. But who's giving them the methodology to earn that cash, to get that motorcycle and to ride around our streets? The dumb asses that can't be fucking arsed to get off their ass and go shop. You're funding it, your own destruction. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Uber as well. All these Uber, Deliveroo, Just Eats, there's all sorts of shit going down. It's all garbage, honestly. And you're funding it. Taxes, even. You're funding it. Your own demise. CW Pulse, evening all, evening. CW, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 6 year. Not been on a live for 4 weeks. Glad I made it on New Year's Day. No, that's 1st of April, Chuck. Hello, everyone. Ashwan. Ian says hello. Evening, Ian. Evening, the Mew. Right, we're going to crack on because now, again, it follows on from common law legal fiction. All right. So I'm saying to you, we need to flip out of the old because it's clearly not working anymore. They've changed tack completely. They're heading down a different tack. Okay. And AI is becoming more and more enveloped in the way the judges are operating. So I'm using AI, as I've said, and I'm working with it rather than against it because I want to know where we're at, what we're doing, and what opportunities we've got in here to enforce our rights. So we've shifted from man to natural person, legal person. Rights, liabilities, okay. So what I want to look at now is what it is that the problem is and why this system now that they've got cooking is what they're enforcing, and it comes down to the record, okay? The basis of everything they're dealing with is the record that we've created. Not in its entirety, because we didn't start it off, but we've added to the record, okay? We've got a national insurance, we've got a license, blah, 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 blah. So in their opinion, they're only operating in accordance with the record that they then claim we've created. Okay, so it's our record, and they're only there to administer it. So registration is the key. Listen carefully. Today in the UK corporate state, you are told you have to register your chickens. Not unlike you having to register your offspring or indeed your conveyance. What appears to be an innocent adventure, in many cases wrapped within a shed load of supposed benefits, such as warranty time increase for health and safety or for a better insurance policy. But the mechanic itself is for the expansion of the state's ability to have you dance. The main cause of attachment to the compliance structure, which is what this system is through registration. The idea of registration as an act you must carry out is based in ignorance, from which is formed a gap or void in data, or to be precise, and a state of man referenced in the Bible, you become people in lack of knowledge. So, the main cause of attachment to this system is ignorance, and it creates a gap. And we've gone through this, that in that gap, we know what fills it up. And the Bible's clear that my people are destroyed through lack of knowledge. Okay, this is old school stuff. So this leaves you at a disadvantage when confronted with something you were told you must carry out. This empty space, you might say, is then filled with fear. And that, of course, leads to confusion. And this is where the current no-hide state comes into play. It manipulates the confusion to exacerbate that fear, the consequence of which is then used by the agents of the state to get you to comply. So confusion, because you're ignorant, shit yourself, they run on that, throw all sorts of fear at you. You've nothing else but fear. You need to satisfy that fear. You're complying. Yeah? I mean, like, if you can work your car breaks down, you shit yourself. If you wait here, you've filled the void. If you're not waiting here, you've shit yourself, you don't know what to do, you're panicking. It's going to cost you money to get rid of your car. This is what I'm saying. It's about what you know versus what you don't. And that's based on your capacity to fill that void. Yeah? So the compliance structure says, so the structure that they've created of compliance, do as you're told first, and then maybe you can try and understand what you did later. Okay? And that's important. Because what that actually is the shift from how England used to be, and it's the Napoleonic Code, which is a code of commerce, which presumes guilt until proven innocent, which means you are always a defendant trying to prove you're innocent. So you're not innocent till proven guilty anymore. And this is what I got across to the solicitors when they set me up in 2014, the police. And they never even thought of it. They were like a shock to them. Because it's just flipping you out of the program, just giving you that little spark, and it's like, wow. As though you knew it all along. Now, under English law, which is innocent until proven guilty, the proof of guilt lies with the one bringing the claim or the charge. And thus you are not defending yourself, you are watching the claimant defend his claim. So that's the English system. You are innocent until proven guilty. And to be proved guilty, the one bringing the claim or charge has to do the proving. Yeah, so until that's proven, you're still innocent watching going, ha ha ha, not anymore. The main reason they achieve compliance to their demands lies in the failure to comprehend your position in this realm, and that is a direct consequence of a failure to be aware of the spiritual essence of this realm, which in part is due to a failure of the institutions that claim to represent that realm, which it is. But more importantly, it is a failure on a personal level to rectify that institutional failure by one's own effort. So once you know something's not working, you should get on with it yourself to work out, well, I need to find this out for myself. The fact is, 99% of the global population believe that the world is the only real experience, which comes at the expense of the fact we all exist on the earth. The world is a construct. That premise leaves you at a disadvantage because from that position you have no idea that your entire being has been trapped in a public system. A system that is administered by public agencies in accordance with the rules of that game. This is why I'm saying, man, it's gone. They've knocked it off. They have knocked it off in their system. It's all about the record, the written word. If we are to come in good faith, and so you get a better understanding of what good faith means as well in this little adventure. If we are to come in good faith to any and all matters, then it must be obvious one has made great efforts to learn all they can about the matter to hand, and that requires questions. So if you want the state to see you as coming with in good faith, then what you have to show them is you've done the due diligence and you've made an effort. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to be absolutely amazing and fantastic. How could you possibly be amazing and fantastic when they've had to study for so long just to keep their position? So good faith is showing that you're trying, in essence. And so, of course, if you're trying, to prove that you've tried, you've studied stuff, and then you've asked the question. That's showing you that you've made some effort. So when it comes to the earth, you have freedoms, but today the system or construct does not recognize the realm of the creator outside its own grasp. That is until you recognize that within the system, there are two species of person in play. Okay? The natural person, the holder of the equity to the trust that makes up your estate, and the legal person, the holder of the liabilities as trustee, and the potential doorway into your private estate. Okay? But you'd have to be the natural person for that estate to be tied to you. Then you're suffering a loss, aren't you? Because if you're the natural person, then you are naturally the beneficiary of the equity in the estate. And therefore, whoever's bringing the claim is a trustee holding that liability. Well, once that position is put into place, the trustee cannot harm the beneficiary. This is the trick. Okay, so this is what I've really come to terms with in relation to putting this judicial review together, which has been amazing, actually. So instead of fighting, like I'm doing the battle, I've come and said, okay, well, what is the game today? Forget the fight from how was, where are we today? And this is where, in the last couple of months, I've got stuck into that, rather than holding on to the past. The state does not offer the facts in relation to the natural person, because its job, in order it funds itself, is based in the administration of the legal person to perform. So it needs to get the legal person to perform, which means it needs to get you coming forward as the legal person. To comprehend the rights of the natural person, you have to learn it yourself. The data is to be found within the system itself. And then, of course, they would class that as you're in the realm of due diligence. You are finding it yourself. Or get somebody to solicit on the court's behalf, pretending that they're operating for you. So it's a cop-out to get a solicitor, isn't it? And straight away, you're not coming in good faith. You've not done your due diligence. So they know that from the get-go. Those are 2 points that you're showing them you've failed to come forward with. So back to the chicken. The register is not about the chicken. The register is about who you become when you comply. So to begin to fill the void, we need data. So that void that's created through lack of knowledge, we need to fill the void with data to commence the forming of the knowledge lacking in the shade of man. So this new man they've got going across the world that has this big void between what's going on and what he knows, they've classed it as the human, the shade of man. Okay, I've been going on about this forever, but I always try and give it in another manner that just cements what I'm trying to say. Because they're not dealing with a man anymore in their system. It's all based around a shade of man, a lesser critter. And so in their eyes, their system is there to administer the lesser critter. All right? This is where it's important you get this in your mind, because then you can approach this differently. if you get my meaning. The human prevalent in the world today, because by definition, the human is a product of the world by dependence upon it. So they've offered you the world, everybody's jumped on it, they become completely dependent on it, and there's a massive void between what they know and the shit show when it comes to a calling. Okay? Does that make sense? So, dependence on the shit show is the creation of the human. So the world has created the human and everybody's followed it and become it, if you get my drift. Now, if we are to contemplate the structure of the system, so this is the way they see it, that binds you, we must consider the order in which it operates. It follows one from the other. Okay, now this is extremely important. Because what we're saying here now is this is how they're working. Not whether we like it, not whether we think it's wrong or right, not whether we're going back into history and going, well, blah, blah, blah. They're not fucking listening. Okay? They've changed acts and statutes for so long, they've got themselves to this point where they, in their eyes, are in honor to operate it this way because they're dealing with monsters. It's their way of administrating the zoo. Now, when you can see it from that way, you can shift away from the crying, okay, and fix to where it's at, because it's the only way you're going to be able to deal with it. So this is the order in which their game is working. So the first thing is authority. The second is jurisdiction. Remember, one follows from the other. Status, standing, obligation, and then, of course, enforcement. Okay? Now, what I've noticed with the AI, it keeps everything in the realm of state enforcement. Okay? And it does that no matter what you try and do with it. Okay? Which I gave you an insight to last week when we went through different times in which I spoke to it. Right. Now, the human has no comprehension of the above list, let alone the expanded data that needs to accompany each specific term, i.e. authority, jurisdiction, and status. In that sense, here lies the cause of the void and the cause of the fear. Okay? So prevalent is this condition to the human, this state is called. I'll say it again. So prevalent is this condition of not knowing fuck all, that to the human, this is called normal. This is normal. This is what it is. It's normal. Well, it fucking isn't. And everyone holds it. It is what everyone knows because it's classed as normal because that's all everybody knows. Everybody else knows the same. That's all they ever speak. So to the human, this predicament is normal. It's the normal run-of-the-mill, and they go, oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah, it's cop-out. That's born of the dependence on it itself. You're that dependent on the state. What the state says goes, and you have no capacity to think different. The law is not supposed to operate as a hidden trap. But of course, today we are under the Noahide slave system operated by the exarch David Dangor. We've done a piece on that. Now, the good faith position would be to show that you have made great efforts to comprehend the law, okay, and procedure. Because what I'm learning with this judicial review, the judicial review is not interested in blame, okay? It doesn't care about innuation and anything. It doesn't even care about people. What it cares about is procedure. Has procedure been followed? That's all they're judging on. Nothing else. Well, there's 5 points, okay? But in the main, it's has procedure been followed, right? Now, if we look at authority first, so this is the first point of examination because it is the cause. The question to be answered would be, who is claiming the right to demand this from me? So that would be the first point. You see, this is another thing I've learned as well in this, putting this judicial review together. It's so intricate how you have to word this if you want a judge to take it on. Because there are things that we do as a natural thing that just gets thrown out by a judge when he's going through it. So when they're looking at stuff and saying, oh, it's bollocks that, we're not having it, and you're going, oh, it took 25 years to do that, you bastard. Basically, it's because we haven't recognised that there are certain tones, let's say, that we use when we're communicating that they don't accept. Okay? So blame, all this kind of stuff. They're not looking for that. They're looking for what happened. So it's back to record, right? What we're talking about is the record created through registration. So the keeper of the record, of course, the guardian is the chief registrar or the land registrar when it comes to land. But every event, everything that we go through has a record. So you get a claim, a liability order claim. That starts the record. Okay? Then how do you respond to that? Is the next part of the record. They might call it the case management file, okay? Which we know that they don't keep. So, if you're doing your due diligence, if you're coming in good faith, you're the one keeping the record. Now, this is what we've done for this 2 years in this matter. So, we've kept the record. There's nothing that's gone on that we don't know about. There's been no communication come in 2 years that we haven't responded to. There's nothing missing. We've responded to everything. So in essence, we have kept the record. And the record is what these judges are looking at. Okay? In a court case. So that's another mind-altering thing you have to achieve when you're looking at where they are today. I mean, they've been sneaking it in for a long, long time. But older school judges, and before it was fixed, if you showed good faith, due diligence, that you had a good as, they'd move it through. That seems to have cut off completely now. They've really moved down. You know, they've gone 10 toes down now with some major shifts. So the first question, when confronted with a claim of authority, would be, and it's the wording that's important. So if you went, well, I'm not paying tax, you've already acknowledged that there's a tax. You get what I'm saying? Who is claiming the right to demand this from me? Not, who says I have to pay fucking tax? You've already acknowledged there's a tax. You've entered into it and admitted there's a tax. Right? This way, who is claiming the right to demand this from me? You're not making a statement. You're not acknowledging what they're saying. You're not joining in with the dance. This is the subtleties that I've come to learn in these last few months. Okay? Now, in the void, the Twilight Zone, and the human normal, the process would be present as the authority. Oh, sorry. In the void, in the human normal process would be present as the authority. So in the normal void, people would just go with the government's authority, the police's authority, the council, the judge, the solicitor, the health and safety, DVLA, HMRC, the bank, the debt collector, the warrant, the liability order, public safety, this act, that act, etc. That straight away in that void, it's an authority. You see it as an authority. Okay? But you're asking, first, who is claiming the right to demand this from me? So you're not even acknowledging that there is an authority. I hope I've explained that well. Because again, this is how I've had to reprogram my little old mind. I've nearly done it, actually. It's nearly ready. So do you get my drift? Human, in the void, as soon as any of them come up, you see that as an authority, when in fact, it's just a fucking private company. putting shit at you, knowing full well you only shit your pants. And cop out and get a solicitor who's going to bum you stupid anyway, and you'll lose even more money, or you're going to fight it wrong. So the wording is so fucking important. And this is where AI comes into play, because it's very good at presenting the correct format. Okay, it's still playing to keep the state in enforcement, I can see. But when you can see that, and of course you're not following it verbatim, you're using your own discernment as well, you can form this game, but it is a big help. Now, authority, what authority actually means, okay? Authority is the source of the right to command, okay? So you're asking this question, who is claiming the right to demand this from me? You're not saying tax, or I don't know this, or what the fuck's that? What's a liability or a council? You're not making a statement of any of the joinder shit, because you know what they're coming with. You're not giving them that joinder to say, oh, well, who says I own council tax or tax? Yeah. And the source of the right, so authority is the source. So it's always going back to the source of that right to command you. Okay? For the authority. What's giving you that authority? Right? Now, the void condition held by the human presents the perceived entities of authority above as power. Don't we? Everybody says, they've got power. But the truth of the matter is that power is what the system can do. And can being the key word here. So again, it's can. And that's dependent upon you. So when it comes at you, it hasn't got authority. It's presumed. Everything they do is presumed or assumed, okay? You don't see it that way. You just see authority, power. I'm going to bend over and let them bum me stupid, right? I mean, of course, I always say no, but I've had my yank eating a lot of times as well, but I don't give a fuck. Anyway, who cares? So you get it. Can do. That's what power is. It can. Now, when it comes to authority and the system, what is imperative to comprehend is that authority is what the system and its agencies are allowed to do. Now, when you see it that way, then you're saying, well, actually, what does procedure give them? What's allowed by procedure? So it isn't about what they can do. It's about what are they allowed to do. And this is where your battle commences, you might say. Okay? Who are you? What the fuck? What are you on about? Kind of thing. A bit like when the judge, when I went in the last for myself, and well, have you got a bank account? I went, just as. Well, have you got a driving license? Nah, just as. You weren't giving him joy to it. You were answering the question. And you weren't giving him joinder. You get what I mean? So it's what they're allowed to do. And if they can run you riot, they will do. Because they like that kind of thing. No, back to the chicken. Okay? Now, the first question in satisfying the right to authority to demand registration would be, okay, so this is back to the chicken. Who has the lawful authority to require registration of a private person's animal? So they're coming in on the presumption that you are the legal person, okay? But you're holding the private and natural person position, okay? You're the beneficiary to the estate, the equity. You're the holder of the equity in the estate, okay? You don't want nothing to fucking do with a legal person. Nothing to do with it whatsoever, okay? They created that, remember, and put it on the record because your dad was stupid. Just like I did my flea bags because I didn't know any different. So we're all fucking stupid. So again, when it comes to registration and demand on the chicken or whatever, who has the lawful authority to require registration of a private person's animal? Okay? Because that's exactly the situation. There's you, just fucking in your garden with your chicken. And all of a sudden, Johnny come lately comes and goes, I will fucking do this. And you go, Right, so remembering that a natural person exists in the private and holds the equitable and beneficial interest in the trust estate. Okay? So it's trust up there. In fact, it's all fucking trust, let's be honest. Now, if the answer to that question is unclear, then the agency, so if they can't tell you, if they can't go, it's this fucking law here, blah, blah, blah. So if the answer to the question is unclear, then that agency that's coming at you is acting on presumption. Okay, so then you know it's presumption. It's based in bullshit. And this is the beginning of the recognition to rights, right? And due process and procedure to which state agencies are bound. It's procedure, due process, rights. Have your rights been as the expectation of what's... So, for instance, what I've come to learn is when I've used conditional acceptances and I've given them a time frame and then said, if you fail to respond within the time limit, you are making the statement blur to each point, then giving them the time, giving them an extra 3 days. I suppose by right you should put 2 reminders in, but giving them the 3-day grace in case it got lost in the post, and then putting in the acceptance certificate, that's bound them to that statement that you've put in there that says if you fail to respond, you're making this statement. And that not answering is an action. Now, on the tennis court, right, you're keeping the record, you've tottled it back. They've done nothing, right? And the record is showing that. And then they might leave it a few weeks, and then they start again. They just start fucking serving all on their own, and you've fucked off, gone pub, and they're playing tennis on their own. That's not tennis, or that's not cricket. Because there's the record. You fixed them to something, they didn't respond, but then carried on hoity-toiting. And you've got that on the record. That's not due process. It's not following procedure, because they've broke the procedure. And you've got it on record. And record is everything. Okay? You dig in the scene? Man. Right. So if the answer to it is unclear, it's presumption. You know it's presumption. All right? Now, we get to jurisdiction. Okay? The second qualifying question relates to jurisdiction, because jurisdiction means where does that authority apply? Over whom, over what, and under what conditions? Okay? Right? So you're not mentioning chicken. You've mentioned registration later. And you've come back and said, where does that authority apply? Do you get what I'm saying here? And this is where AI comes in useful. Because if you present a paragraph, it'll say, oh, you're a dick. No, fucking hell, you're arguing, you're doing this, you're doing fucking that. Here's how you present it. Boom. You're like, ah. And that's how you can start to focus and see what they're talking about. Because this is how the judges work. Okay? So, for jurisdiction, okay, to claim jurisdiction, you need to answer, it would have to be answered, where does the authority apply, over whom, over what, and under what conditions? Okay? Because they can't say, natural person in the private, because it's not, it's public. You're remaining private. It's the presumption that you're legal. And this is what you're undermining. You're not giving them, they're not following the procedure, you're not giving them the procedure, you might say, to keep going. Does that make sense? Now, this is the point at which most people collapse and comply, because they think jurisdiction is automatic. It is not. Jurisdiction must be triggered. Here we come back to the chicken. The chicken registry is a perfect example. The system at this stage is not asking, do we have jurisdiction over you? Okay, it's not saying that. It is assuming it. It is presuming it. It's saying, if you keep this animal, you are within our reach. But you're private. You say, no, fucking no. Because you're starting to twig. Yeah, you're presuming that I have because you want me to come going, all right then. Take it away. Take it away and shag it. Just make sure you don't stop it laying that chucky eggs. Do you get me? Is that making sense to you? So the assumption is, if you keep this animal, Mr. Lauderdale, you are within our reach. Grabble, grabble. Give us your shekels. Now that is the trick to the trap. It's the trick to the trap, the presumption, accepting it. By using the wrong words. You see, another point is, if you use the wrong words in an earlier questioning, you can kill it. And so going further on is a waste of time because you wrecked it up there. You killed it. Because these guys are canny flea bags, you know what I'm saying? So that is the trick to the trap. Okay? They collapse private life, as an assumption, into regulatory territory by treating your back garden as if it were a controlled zone. This is where the demand to register comes from. But it is not based in fact, it is the presumption. And as we all know, a presumption unrebutted stands, does it not? Yeah. Now, status. So you've gone along here, you asking these questions and you didn't answer them, you know it's presumption. You stay in the private. Status. Status is what you become inside the framework or the matrix. So, if you fail to this point, you've automatically reached a particular status in the framework. Okay? Are you a natural person or have they got you on the legal person? Now, status is not your identity. It is not your belief system. Status is not your intention. Status is a classification inside their system. Now for the kicker. It is the act of registering the chicken that is the formation of the status or the classification. So the minute you register, they've already got the status. You've put it on the record. You've put it on the record. It says, I've got this fucking chicken. You can bum it. You've put it on the record. They administer the record. Are you digging the scene, man? A private person, natural person wouldn't register fuck all. I never register anything. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you get your Hi-Fi. I remember once I got an Hi-Fi and I thought, it took a bit while to find it. It sounded good. I said, yeah, I'll take that. So, from the immediacy, I'd said I'd take it. Do you want to buy some extra insurance? Blah, blah, blah. No, you're all right. And I said, listen. I said, you've just told me how fucking amazing this thing is. I said, are you telling me it's shit? I said, are you now telling me it's shit and I need this? Never had that before. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I don't want your fucking insurance. If you carry on, I don't want the Hi-Fi. I'll go somewhere else. Yeah. And it's like, So there you go. And so you don't register fuck all day. Yeah, buy someone, they'll go, yeah, register, you get this, that. I don't give a fuck. If it breaks, it breaks. I'll throw it away again. Because I don't care. It's like that. So, they don't get me on that. Now, before you registered the chicken, you were simply one who owns a chicken. When you register, you become a keeper of the chicken, which is a regulated category. A keeper of a chicken is regulated. It has a file number. And of course, you become a compliance subject because you registered it. You're the keeper. In essence, in registering the chicken, you enter the status of compliance. Regulation is now operational. Regulation does not just record a chicken, it creates a relationship between you and the state. It turns a private fact into a controlled condition. Well, we all know this through DVLA, do we not? This just gives it a little bit more. Now, after status comes standing. Standing is the system's ability to act against you as a proper subject. It means, do they have a recognized procedural basis to bring enforcement against you? You're a keeper. This is where the chicken register becomes dangerous. Because the moment you register, the system gains standing. Now it can say, you are on the register. You have duties. You must update records. You must comply with restrictions. You are subject to inspection. You are accountable. All because you registered a chicken and became a keeper. Yeah? Now, if you resist after registration, you are not resisting theory, you are resisting your own record. A record that you created. It was your own submission, your own entry into the framework. That is standing. Standing is not truth, it is procedural positioning. Obligation. Obligation is what they claim you now owe. Obligation is always the last step because obligation is not created by fear. Obligation is created by authority, jurisdiction, status, and standing. Once those pieces are assumed, the system declares, now you must comply, register, update, report, submit, obey. This is the administrative model that turns you into a dancing monkey. That for the human is believed to be normal. What a mess when they put that monkey gene in. It fucked everybody, didn't it? Even, if you're even going from that within, you've always got that little fucking monkey causing havoc. And you think it's inside of you. Oh, it fucking is. Fucking blood. Oh, dear heck. It's the fucking dancing monkeys. I don't know. But it is important you acknowledge this fact. The chicken did not change. You did not change. The only thing that changed is the record. The record. Are we digging? That's the basis of everything. And then, of course, enforcement begins. So that's the structure that these buggers are operating. So, correcting the record, is that not the key to this? You fucking damn right it is. Okay? You damn right it is. Right, so what is the lesson? This structure is used everywhere. The chicken, land, conveyance, property, offspring, the dog, the cat, rifles, pistols, marriage, death, cows, sheep, water collection, Codex Alimentarius, fuel, and soon you will count the fleas on your kids and pets. Speech, shit, and piss. All to be placed on the record, so every single bodily action will be on the record and administered. Yeah? License, all this bullshit. So do we blame the chicken? Do we kick its fucking head in? Do we neck it and feed it to cats? Well, cats don't really eat chickens, but ferrets do. Or do we acknowledge the fact that slavery begins on fucking paper? Then chains, then jail. Not forgetting that many coveted death sentences for not being of the chosen. So this paper game that's gone on, these self-professed chosen, they're offering you fucking death, decapitation, And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Noahide laws. Now, good faith, just to give us another bit of an insight, because it is, we use these terms and we don't necessarily have a compounded grasp on what it actually means. Clean hands and such, you know, all this, these terms that we use, but have you actually sat down and asked yourself, do you know what the fuck they mean? So good faith is trying to gain fair notice of what the law demands. Okay, so if someone comes at you, you are doing your best to try and find out, which is what we've done in 2 years on this council tax. The good faith position would be to show you've made great efforts to comprehend the law. The law is not supposed to operate as a hidden trap, but it is. And they tell you that. It's there, find it. So basically, you want to know, what type of person am I being treated as? You need them to tell you. Okay. They don't. They use you. Yours. Your. Yeah. They don't tell you what you, all this. Yours. It's yours. Your. That's how they did it. That's how they've played it. You haven't to accept that. You have to pull it. You need to know what jurisdiction is being presumed. What statutory relationship is being assumed. What definitions control that title. Because it's, all this language. And where exactly is the obligation claimed to arise? Now, when such answers are given, then notice and culpable intent have not been proven. Now, that's more criminal, because in criminal stuff, to be found guilty, it has to be that you intended to do what you did. There has to be intent, culpable intent. Compliance structure says, do as you're told first and maybe understand what you did later. Now, presumption thrives where understanding is absent. There's the void that I talk about. Understanding first is the correct method and is a fine example of acting in good faith. Okay, so I'll obviously put that document up, but it's essential now, guys, that we get cracking on with this. How are we going to deal with this now? It's changed, and it's changed very quickly. As they install this Noahide, well, everybody's focused to the Sharia. If you want to know what's going on in the courts, it's not fucking Sharia law, let me tell you that now. It's Noahide. That's what's going in. And if you're focused to that, rightly so, because they're at it. But that isn't what it is that's installing itself in the courts. So installing itself in the courts is the Noahide, and they've been doing it for a long time. A long time. That's at least 200 years. Well, 1688, in fact. That was the foundation of it. When they moved common laws into parliamentary statutes. So, there you go, ladies and gents. So as I'm going through this judicial review, I thought, well, I'll just put bits together because you know, if you're not going to follow this stuff, guys, believe you me, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time trying the old methods to get your rights and freedoms upheld, because it's just not going to work. They've shifted a gear big time, and you need to acknowledge it, and you need to move accordingly. Otherwise, I really feel you're going to have some serious problems. Now, I'm putting this judicial review together. Obviously, we've got to put it in and see what takes place. But, you know, I'm taking my time on this so that I'm only focused to procedure. And in all truth, everything that they've done is wind and piss. And it's not just this issue. The whole fucking system is operating on practice, not procedure. And we've seen this throughout the whole 2 years. It's just that we didn't really fully understand how to present it. This has only come to pass since I've used AI to formulate it in a way that a judge... Because I basically said to you, what the fuck does the judge do? What does the judge want? How did they fucking operate? And basically, that's how I've sorted... This is how I've come to this. I want to know where they operate. And what the Land Register has done is garbage. Garbage. What the solicitor has done after is utter shit. And they're showing themselves to know that. in their actions. And this is the same things that they do in everything that we do. They just keep going, keep railroading you. So judicial review has got to be the key. And when I took the Queen to court, the fucking judge after made a massive play about why I shouldn't go for a judicial review. I just didn't get it then. I was too thick. Because this is going back 2009, 8, something like that. I was only just really getting to grips with understanding stuff, never mind standing in a court. So, it's on you to get this. Now, obviously, as I'm going through this, I'm learning a lot more as than I'm presenting on here. I'm just giving you the backdrop for that mind shift. And obviously, this is where coming into we're going to get back to these Zooms and such so that I can give you something solid to play with here. So it's delayed, etc. But I think now I can see this. It's been a good thing that it's been delayed because we probably would have just carried on in the old fashion. This is where the game is now. This is what game's on the table. This is where we need to start moving forward from. So just bear with me on that. It's not like it's not happening. It's just that this is taking a lot of attention. Plus, of course, I'm dealing with the move for the reversion on the actual estate itself. Which, again, this data is actually helping in that sense as well. So yeah, great stuff. Here we go. It's all groovy going on, and the bastards are really shutting it down, as I think you already know, you guys. So, where are we? 2 fleet weeks to... let me just try for control. Johnny. Okay. Happy Sunday, Sean, says Francis Bouton. Okay, I've done that one. Yeah, delivery, we did that. 2 weeks, yeah, we've done that. Mute, yeah, we've done that. Jim Drinsky says, hi, Sean and all, great kick-off. Hello, Mr. Jim Drinsky, and thank you for that. There's no public, says Dangerous Slave. Okay, well, you try telling that to Johnny come later, there's my old China. Right, you're more than welcome to give us a bit more of an expanded gig on that one, my old China, if you don't mind. Sean and all says, good, thanks for that. Anyway. So, Dangerous Slave says, okay. Presumed guilty. Is this go do WKTB? Is this go do? Presumed guilty. I don't know what that is. With ex utor de son tort, etc. Please like canon law, perhaps. Well, I'm not so sure they're even operating under canon law anymore. Hey, all wise bastards. Caught the last minutes. All Paul as well, says Ed Freedom. Evening, Ed. And we've become, are we the egg or the chicken? Yeah. Hi, Sean and all. Those at the Wise Asylum, I'm watching quietly, says Treen. Hiya, Treen. We haven't forgotten about it, I'm just, honestly, it's off the wall madness, as it usually is. So I haven't forgotten about you, darling. The question is creating our jurisdiction then without adhering to the jurisdiction. Well, it's not creating our jurisdiction if you go through that again. It's, where's your fucking authority? It goes before jurisdiction. If they can't show authority, there is no jurisdiction. Because it's not automatic. It's got to be triggered. And in most cases, we trigger it. Now, it is correct in the record. And it goes back to, again, what the old Freeman was saying, which is you've got to fucking... I mean, we don't really want anything to do with the legal title. Anyway, that's theirs. But the estate, especially if you've got your long form, that's the estate. But it's this legal title that they use to as a doorway to get into the estate. Question is great. Okay. Codex Alimentarius is a good topic. Yeah, I mean, I remember when she came out with that one. Must have been, 2008? Came into force that 31st of December 2012, So it deems vitamins and proteins as poison. There are rules about collecting your own rainwater. Every insidious nonsense you can imagine in relation to your own survival is found within Codex Alimentarius. I can't remember what she called. Dr. Rima Laidlaw. That was the girl that brought that out. Her husband were General Stubblebine. I think it was George, but I'm not sure. I think he's now deceased. But she put that together very well back then. And they did a lot of work back in the day in relation to waking people up to that. Yeah, Codex Alimentarius in force as of 2012. And a lot of the stuff you can see coming in is based under that statute. So it's been adopted. I believe the UK, US and Japan have now been deemed nations in energy crisis. So keep that in mind as well. So, you know, just without getting excited and stupid, just start to look at where... Because they reckon in September time, when this crunch on what's going on now is probably going to start to hit. But don't comply to this shit. If they say stay in Kell, get outside and say fuck off. Don't come outside and clap your hands and pans. Come outside and go, fuck you. Fuck you, Mr. Arsehole, Mr. Government. And mean it. And mean it. Because otherwise it's just going to be another rerun of this shit. And this is where you're going to see all these fucking happy immigrants coming out on the street. Trying to tell you how it is. So, think on, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like the game's on. Game on. Do not give them what they're after. And I've noticed when you're looking at this stuff, most of the data they're giving you is queuing up from 2020. I mean, they're just playing it off like a... I've seen one or two numpties with the old face nappy and that, but you can tell they're just the numpties. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another week into 2026. We've just done the old spring equinox. Interesting morning, that. It was an interesting one for me. And big alignments as well on that day as well. So there's a lot going on, and there's quite a lot of important alignments going on from... Mercury went forward, I think, on the 19th again, so if you've had a bad few weeks, that's why. But Mercury in reverse Mercury is a good thing because it makes you refocus to things. It brings things to the mind that you need to reevaluate, so it's all good. So I will say thanks for joining. Mods, thanks for modding. And somebody said there's snow next week. Well, fair enough, but... it's not been quite bad. It's been quite pleasant this last few days, and I quite enjoyed myself. It's nice to not need heater on the car all the time. That's quite nice. Opening the door and having a fag in the car and a caustic. Much better than being sat there with engine on, steamed up to fuck, and smoking yourself out. So, all good. We're heading in the right direction for the old weather. Although yesterday I noticed at the evening they'd been spraying all day, and they were a fucking strange... noxious sort of taste, smell in air. I noticed today a lot of dust coming up on Summit Road, so I don't know what the fuck they've been spraying. Whether that's got something to do with this M-bug, I don't know. We shall have to wait and see. Anyway, thanks for joining. I hope you have a good week, and as always, I shall say... Where is it? Till the next time.
electronic engineering.